From the Podwires newsroom at joinpodwires.com.
Good morning and welcome to your comprehensive podcast industry briefing. I'm your host, Miguel, coming to you on September 19th, 2025. And honestly, what a time to be covering this space. The podcast industry is absolutely buzzing with activity right now. And today we're diving into some genuinely fascinating developments that are reshaping how creators monetize, how advertisers invest, and how the entire ecosystem is evolving. Let's kick off with some numbers that'll make your head spin. And I mean that in the best possible way. Audioboom just announced they've crossed a massive threshold, $325 million in total payments to podcast creators worldwide. Now, that's not just impressive, it's genuinely transformative for understanding where this industry sits today. CEO Stuart Last put it perfectly when he said, "This milestone isn't just about dollars. It's about businesses, careers, and communities that have been built across the globe through podcasting." And here's what's particularly striking. Over 8,000 creators have partnered with Audioboom over the past decade to turn podcasting into sustainable businesses. But here's the really interesting part that caught my attention. The video revolution is happening faster than anyone predicted. Over 60% of Audioboom creators are now producing video podcasts. And get this, video revenue doubled in just the first half of 2025. Video now represents more than 13% of their overall business, with 12 of the top 100 video podcasts in the United States hosted on their network. This isn't just about one company's success story. This is concrete evidence of the medium's maturation from hobby project to legitimate career path. Speaking of money, let's talk about advertising, because the numbers here are absolutely defying broader market trends. While most of the audio sector is basically treading water, podcast advertising is charging ahead with projected 7.2% compound annual growth through 2029. Here's the context that matters. eMarketer's new benchmark report shows podcast ad revenue hitting $2.53 billion this year, climbing to $3.34 billion by 2029. Meanwhile, traditional AM/FM radio spending is sliding at 2.4% annually. The contrast couldn't be starker. And here's a statistic that really tells the story. 78% of advertisers purchased podcast ads in June 2025, up from just 59% a year earlier. 9 out of 10 advertisers expressed interest in adding podcasts to their mix. That's not gradual adoption. That's a fundamental shift in media planning. The audience numbers support this enthusiasm. We're looking at roughly 141 million US adults listening to podcasts this year, hitting 150 million by 2027. That means 6 out of 10 audio listeners are now podcast listeners. We've officially hit mainstream territory. Now, with all this advertising money flowing in, how do we actually measure success? This brings us to some crucial industry infrastructure news that doesn't always make headlines, but absolutely should. IAB Australia just released their market mix modeling landscape report, and this is significant for the global industry. They've created essentially a roadmap for advertisers trying to navigate the increasingly complex measurement landscape, featuring 12 active vendors using everything from classical econometric models to cutting-edge machine learning approaches. Here's why this matters. As privacy legislation tightens and traditional tracking methods become less reliable, advertisers and agencies are increasingly turning to techniques like market mix modeling and experimentation. isn't new, but it's experiencing what the report calls a revival and evolution. Dave Goodfellow from Pinterest nailed the challenge. offers the potential to transform marketing measurement, but realizing this promise requires vigilance on data quality, rigorous calibration, and transparent partnerships. Translation: the tools are getting more sophisticated, but you need to know how to use them properly. Let's shift gears to something that demonstrates podcasting's growing cultural influence. Right now, through September 25th, we're witnessing something called the Be Hope Podcast Takeover, and this is genuinely unprecedented in scope. Project Everyone, co-founded by filmmaker Richard Curtis, has rallied more than 10 chart-topping podcasts around a global initiative timed with the UN General Assembly. We're talking major shows like The Rest is Politics with Alastair Campbell and Rory Stewart, Pod Save the UK and Pod Save the World. Alastair Campbell's comment really resonates. Amid the darkness, we must always search for hope. This is the moment to find pockets of hope and use them as momentum.
The timing is strategic. 2025 marks the final 5-year push to achieve the UN's global goals by 2030. Spotify is supporting by spotlighting these episodes on their homepage throughout the week. This represents podcasting's evolution from entertainment medium to platform for global discourse and social action. Finally, let's talk about pipeline development because sustainability requires fresh talent. Sony Music's Podcast Academy 2025 has opened applications for their 6-week program targeting emerging content creators aged 18 to 30 in London. This isn't just about training. They're providing dedicated laptops with editing software, access to live recordings of major UK podcasts, and here's the real incentive: 2 6-month paid internships exclusively for program graduates. The program runs October 8th through November 14th at Sony Music's podcast headquarters, and applications require full in-person attendance. What's particularly thoughtful is their £200 travel bursary and the explicit statement that no previous podcasting experience is required, just passion for digital storytelling. Looking at today's stories collectively, we're seeing an industry that's simultaneously professionalizing and democratizing. The Audioboom payments milestone and advertising growth projections show real money flowing to creators. The IAB measurement report indicates sophisticated tools for optimizing that investment. The Be Hope initiative demonstrates cultural impact potential, and Sony's Academy program ensures pipeline development. But here's what's really interesting. The video integration trend appearing across multiple stories suggests we're not just seeing podcasting evolve, we're watching it converge with broader digital media formats. The question isn't whether podcasting will continue growing. The data confirms that trajectory. The question is how quickly traditional media planning adapts to these realities, and whether creators can scale their operations to meet advertiser demand while maintaining the authenticity that makes the medium special. That wraps today's Podwire's 5 things. The podcast ecosystem is maturing rapidly with real money, sophisticated measurement, social impact potential, and structured career pathways all converging simultaneously. Tomorrow, we'll dive into platform-specific developments and international market expansion trends. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe at joinpodwires.com and be a paid subscriber to continue our work. I'm Miguel, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.
That's your wrap. Want the inside track on podcasting? JoinPodwires.com is your next stop. Subscribe to the newsletter for the latest trends and tap into the marketplace to connect with jobs, creators, and brands shaping audio's future. Don't just listen, get involved. Head to joinpodwires.com today.